Hey folks, this is another episode of the 4099 podcast. Nick is looking real crazy. I don't know why, but this is your hosts, Demon
and Nick.
and yeah, we're gonna just keep the theme going of Nick doing intros, and Nick will handle this intro.
All right, it's a good pass off. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm going to be a ball hog for a while we're pushing this series on global community. And with that, today I'd like to welcome our cousin from across the pond, Mr. Sean. Hello, Sean. If you wouldn't mind, say hey to the folks. Introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. As Nick and Dima said, the colonial cousin from across the pond. I'm currently in London right now. It's evening time. It's dark, so that's pretty much it. But thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's a real honor to be here.
It is our pleasure entirely. Yeah,
I was gonna ask. I know England in general. See, I've never been to England. I actually when I say that, I mean like I haven't actually stayed in England. I've had many connecting flights through London and stuff like that, but I watch a lot of, don't even get me started. Don't clown me for this, folks. But I watch a lot of gardening shows and gardening documentaries and stuff like that. So I know in England, gardening is really, really huge. I watch a lot of Dom, the legend Dom. Forgot his last name, but Monty something. But I'm chopping up the name here. Sean is confused, but anyway, it's this dude, super cool Brit from England, and he's really, really famous in like the gardening scene and stuff like that. And I got a lot of information like regarding not only like obviously like gardening is huge in England, but also the weather there is always fucking, I don't know, like
shit.
Like shit, exactly, yeah. So I was gonna ask you how's the weather there right now?
Shit. To be fair, it's been very grey, very cloudy today. So kind of what you dissociate with London. It's been raining off and on. To be fair, like throughout the week we had a mixture of like really sunny days and then just torrential downpours. So you just don't really know what you're going to get. Actually, no, you do know what you're going to get. It's going to be shit. And when it's not shit, you think it's not shit now. It's going to be shit later. So let's just not go outside for a while. So that's pretty much winter in England in a very small nutshell. But Dima, you're right. Gardening's massive here. I have no idea who you're on about in terms of that Don dude.
You know what?
Never heard of him.
To not look like a complete idiot.
Before you
guys keep on talking.
Before you jump down any more fucking rabbit holes, I gotta get a top pop in.
Oh yeah, go ahead, pop the top, kid.
I can't do it alone.
Pop the top. Let's pop the top.
Yeah. God, come on.
Oh, that was satisfying.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I told you it was good. Why are you drinking it from? He's drinking it from the backside. He's like letting it come, like, you know, the hole on the top of the can. He's got the whole face and away from him, and then he's. Come on, man.
Don't critique.
Come on.
Don't critique.
What is that technique?
What is this? Critique.
No, I'm with Nick on this one. Dima, what the hell are you doing, man? That's gonna go all over you. You've got a nice grey t-shirt on. That's gonna be damp by the end of this.
Calvin Klein. I appreciate
You're gonna
it.
attract bees and ants.
Hey, listen, it's wintertime. There's not a lot of insects. We're good. But you guys keep talking. I'm gonna figure out what the hell this guy's name is. Actually.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to find out who this guy is.
All right. So the whole premise of this is for us to learn a little bit more about your stature of government and how you feel about it. From the top, like, what's the rundown? How do your powers operate? What's the policy?
It kind of depends on like what level you want to talk about. You want to talk about the top level of government, where there's the two political parties, or every kind of. I mean, then every city has got their mayor, kind of similar to you guys, that can kind of not run autonomously, but they've got a certain sense of power that they don't always have to report to the government. And then you've got smaller councils that operate within kind of cities and the jurisdictions around cities as well. So it's multi-tiered, it's confusing, much like your own political system. But yeah, I mean, I would say the majority of young people kind of like my age, below, and then maybe above as well, are deeply unhappy with the political system and have been for some time. It does feel like our voices haven't really been heard for a lot of my lifetime. Or I would say probably the time when we could start to vote, our voting hasn't really been taken into account, just because the older generations are still kind of very stuck in their ways. And it's a case of that kind of turnover of kind of political ideology hasn't manifested in the way that the younger generation wants yet. Kind of like observing what happened in your election a couple of weeks ago, it was horrifying but also brilliant at the same time, because you've still got a large majority of people who are still voting for that terrifying human being, but then you've also got a lot of people who are stepping up to the plate and are wanting their voices to be heard, and they want to evoke change. I don't think in Britain, I don't think we're there yet. I think we're still stuck. And hopefully, witnessing what happened in your country a couple of weeks ago, we may get to that point where we can think, hey, if 75 million Americans can get rid of a terrible human being, then we can get rid of our own terrible human being and maybe start kind of evoking that change that we want.
So
did that answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to dig into that a little deeper. So you have a bipartisan government, correct?
Yeah.
What are the two sides?
I mean, there are several different parties though, so it's not like a two-horse race. There are several different ones, but at the moment it's kind of Labour versus Conservative, which is similar to kind of Democrat versus Republican.
Okay. You said it's Labour? You call it Labour?
The Labour Party, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they're called the Labour Party. Yeah.
What is that about? I don't understand.
Just think.
Originally, it kind of stemmed from like the working class. I think that's where the roots of that kind of party stem from.
Okay.
And traditionally, they have stood for the kind of the working to working middle class parties. They've always kind of had that kind of mindset. But over the last 20 years, they have kind of shifted from that kind of like socialist ideology to somewhere nearer to central. But the kind of conservative, so the Republican side of things have always been that slightly more far right, but some of their policies can fit somewhat centrally as well. It's tricky because there is some overlap, but they're still very distinct, I'd say.
Okay. And then, so London, so you still have like your royal family. We kind of got into this with Sweden because they also were once ruled by a royal family. And what is their place in all of government?
A lot of people do think of the royal family as a tourist attraction, and I am very much of that viewpoint. I mean, a lot of people come to the UK, London specifically, to go to Buckingham Palace, see the changing of the guard.
Oh, I thought it was for Arsenal games.
No, we're not talking about Arsenal. That's a whole different podcast. That is.
So like, I don't know why, but in my head, I don't ever call it Buckingham Palace. I just call it the Ham Palace. I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from, but I call it Ham Palace.
Ham, like HAM.
Like pig.
Palace.
Like a cut of pig.
Maybe you're thinking.
I don't get it. Like
maybe I've never had that.
Maybe you just don't like the Queen and you're calling her a pig. That's fucked up.
I'm not calling the Queen a pig. I think she's pretty all right. I mean, I don't know her personally, but I haven't seen her do anything offhand,
She's
how old?
I don't know, like
how old is she?
Oh God. Oh man, she must be in her 90s now. But the thing is, right, everyone focuses on the Queen being really old, but her husband is even older than she is.
This is true.
But he looks it. He looks like he's like been dug up. To be fair, she actually looks really good for 90 something.
I mean, yeah, so like, is he technically the king?
No, I don't really know the semantics of the royal family that well because I've never really been. I mean, I admire them in a way, but I don't know too much kind of about. So yeah, technically he's not the king. No, he's just like.
That is wild because in my head, if
It's
you
weird, yeah.
you marry the queen, by God, you're the king. And to be anything lesser just seems like a smack in the face.
I think because he's kind of because she, I don't, yeah, because she was kind of queen. I think before they married or something. Maybe that's why.
That's weird.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It gets into family trees, you know.
Yeah.
And then so like, I also had this like weird disconnect where like you have the United Kingdom, and is that different than Britain?
No,
No.
it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like, so the UK is Britain.
Yes.
All right.
The
So
United Kingdom.
thank you for that. That's a huge like question in my mind. Just
The
check
thing
that
that
out.
Cool.
thing that always like kind of like confuses me isn't the UK thing or the Britain thing. It's the fact that like there's like this huge history of the kingdoms in that region where like you like Ireland, Scotland, England, right? And it's always been like such a weird kind of shifts in history where there's like, you know, like in my mind, I've always been confused as to like, fuck, man, there's so many kings and queens and this and that going on. You know what I mean? That always gets me. So, but
I mean, you also kind of forget that there's also Wales as well, which kind of has their own slight autonomy as well. So they've kind of got their own. They haven't got their own. They've got their own government, but they also report into the main government for the UK. Same situation as Scotland and Northern Ireland as well. But Republic of Ireland is separate from us. A bit awkward because I think at one point we definitely did own it at one point. Own it. God, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? we owned Ireland. God, I've got part Irish family, so if they hear me talking about that, I'm gonna get lynched next time I come over. But no, they are very much kind of separate now.
Yeah, you don't want Conor McGregor coming after you.
Well, history is history. You know, facts are facts.
Yeah.
They don't have opinions. You know, and all right. So I mean, like I've listened to a lot of like podcasts and NPR, and understand that like there's been a lot of problems with like, we'll say mainland Britain and like in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as like MI6 and like the IRA and like a bunch of bombings and like rebellions and stuff. So like, do you guys still see any of that stuff today? Or
very little of it, which is a good thing because there was a period in kind of the 70s and 80s where there was a lot of destruction, terrorism within kind of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. There was a lot of contention there, and it was really scary. Like I wasn't around at that point, but you kind of hear about it and you read about it. And like my dad was born in Dublin, and you know he wasn't a part of it or anything like that, but he grew up with that. And when he eventually moved over to London, it was kind of like mid 80s. So I think it was kind of at that. I don't know if it was at the point where the IRA kind of started to peter off and things were starting to settle and that kind of the times of peace were coming in. But I think if he ever started to talk in a public place or he would kind of get funny looks and people would think, oh shit, should I be worried? Which is, I mean, that's scary for any kind of new person in any city. But if you've got kind of like if bad things have been happening in your own country and then people start to think, shit, am I sitting next to a terrorist? Like that's, like, no one should ever have to feel like that. It's terrible. Like, even when he spoke about it a few times, but he just kind of said, wow, you went through that? That's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, imagine we're kind of talking off record before we started recording and about Israel a little bit, but I was like, imagine Israel still now, but like in the 2000s when shit was really popping off over there. You had like still to this day, every time you go to Israel, and I'm told this by everyone every single time, just to like get the point across, is like, if you see something on the street, don't touch it. Call the bomb squad. If you see a backpack, or if you see this,
I got
or
that.
if you
I
see
get
that,
that too.
yeah. So it is very, very like
Real.
exactly.
It's real.
Yeah, it's very real.
And
that's crazy.
Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was
Thanks for breaking that down for us, because a lot of people here in the States, where it's funny because England, right, island, right, but a lot of times we notice ourselves as people living in America, that we live on a very isolated island as well. It's like this island, like America only, you know what I mean? And so it's like, a lot of the time, we speak, I find myself speaking to a lot of people about different cultures, different people, and a lot of people that I talk to have no clue about England, or how things work there, or even like Nick was saying, like some people don't know that the UK and Britain are the same place, or like these small little things that should be obvious to a person that's living in a world. It's like a lot of these things,
they get kind of swept under the rug. They go unseen.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean, like it's a testament to you guys, without sounding like a bit of an ass kisser, but the fact you're actually wanting to go out of your way to actually learn and listen to someone who's kind of from here is a testament to your willingness to be so open, which, I mean, it's fantastic, to be fair. So the fair play to you guys for doing it.
This feeds our souls, man. Like, honestly, like, nice. Because the big picture here with the 49.9 is to envision a world bigger than yourself and understand that you have a place in that world, to build this sense of community, that we are all here together, and it's best if we work together and try to like solve our fucking problems so that we can maybe make it to the year 49.9.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, something that Nick said that's really just, again, that drives this machine, right? That drives this podcast, that drives our passion for doing this, is the listeners and the viewers, and just how willing and open-minded they are to give us their time and listen to we have people that are listening to every single episode and just always constantly asking us, hey, are you guys dropping today? What time are you guys dropping? And
wow,
and cool. So it's like, we do this, I mean, not only to open our own minds, but also to kind of share this experience with the beautiful, beautiful folks listening and viewing these episodes. And you just gave us a compliment. Let us give you a compliment back. Thank you truly for opening up, not only to us, but to also everyone that's listening and viewing this, and being so willing to teach us,
And
I should probably caveat that to anyone who's listening. I am by no means an expert, so what I might say might actually be wrong. So just going to put that out there just in case, because you never know. A lot of the stuff I'd say might actually be wrong. So just
listen. The great thing about this age that we live in is technology, brother. Just anyone, if you want to fact check anything, click that little tab and go on to Google and check it yourself, so
either way, it's okay to be wrong. Like, honestly, like that's the human factor. We could all be wrong about everything, and the sciences could collapse. We could have had all these theories and hypotheses fucked up, and then the reality collapses, and guess what? We all lived inside of a peach, and we just got eaten by a fucking mongoloid.
And everyone's name is James.
Yeah.
Nice.
But going back to the very beginning of the episode, make it a full circle here so that people don't think I'm a complete idiot. The guy's name that I was talking about is Monty Don, and he is a world-renowned gardener.
He's world-renowned.
And he has the most beautiful fucking golden retriever or lab, whatever it is. But He's really cool because that's
Now, do people follow him because he's cool and does good things, or because he's got a neat dog?
both.
Yeah, right. It's gotta be one or the other.
Both. They actually have it's really really.
I've literally just Googled him and I recognise him, but
Yeah.
I'd be fucked if I've ever watched a gardening show, man.
I'm with you, Sean. I'm not watching any.
I'm
No.
I'm a nerd, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you've got a nice garden now, you're clued up to make it even nicer. So fair play.
Yeah. I honestly, I imagine he's had a lot of extra time to work on that shit. So I'm not as impressed. But yeah, no. All right. So another part of this is I want to get into is your taxation and your health system, because the world's
Sure.
I would say globally, comparing to the U.S., we got it fucked up. We're not doing too hot. Our health system is somewhere deep in the dumps here, and it's probably on fire.
Well, to be fair, because I find that we've been kind of and very rightfully so shitting on the U.S. system. But to be fair and to give it a little bit of credit, a lot of the time that
to give it credit, not everyone died.
Well, no, not everyone died. Yeah, exactly. But to be fair, a lot of the time, whenever we speak about something that we're in, it's a lot easier to shit on and look at another place and say, no, that's the way it should be done.
But are you saying it's easy to say the grass is greener on the other side?
Yes.
But it's also to recognize a soup sandwich when you see one.
Well, no. I'm just saying this to make it be known that we're not. I mean, the point of this isn't to literally just shit on U.S. policies and how things are here. The point is to inform people of the difference between the U.S. ways of handling things as in comparison to, on this episode, England's, right? And so
so you're saying make your own mind up.
Make your own mind up. That's the point of this this whole thing is for you to kind of just listen to us and make your own mind up. But having said that, it is a very hot topic here in the States. A lot of people are always constantly talking about and comparing is the fact that in the U.S., the system that's put into place here is, insurance. You got to pay an exorbitant amount of money to go to school, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of systems that we're constantly just essentially paying half of our check to, right? Or not half of our check, but a huge amount of money to. And whereas in Europe, it's education's free, right? Well, in most countries.
Let him handle it, okay?
I will let him handle it, but I'm just opening up the table.
It is time for you to pass the ball.
All right, I'm passing the ball to Sean. Sean, take it away.
Fuck.
Okay, so technically what you said about education being free in the UK, that's wrong. We actually, we pay for education at a university level. So you pay kind of similar to you, but it's way, way cheaper. And at one point it actually was free. And I think that was back in, I don't know when exactly the fees started coming in, but they were really minimal kind of back in the 70s and 80s. And they were increasing and increasing. And then when I went to university, I was the last kind of year group, as it were, that got the cheaper fees. So I paid about $3,000 a year for university. So I ended up having about $9,000 worth of debt, plus more debt for living expenses, etc. And then the year after, so the year group that went to university after me had to pay £9,000 a year. So that tripled the year after. So there was a lot of kind of contention about that, and students and even members of staff at university went apeshit when that came. And there was a lot of protest, but unfortunately it didn't actually go away. And we see ourselves now in a society where where COVID has affected a lot, and we see universities still operating, but like this. So these poor kids are still paying $9,000 a year for this.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of like, it's probably the same thing in the States where kids are paying 50, 60 grand a year and they're getting this. It's just like, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
But the schooling system is fantastic at a university level. I mean, you hear about your Oxfords and your Cambridges and stuff like that, who are brilliant, but then you've also got universities at slightly lower levels who do fantastic things in specific areas, kind of, again, similar to you guys, where there are some universities that are really good at doing law degrees, or you've got some universities that are really good at English degrees, and then there's ones that are brilliant at science, etc., etc. And then some of the kind of classic universities are called red bricks. They're called red brick universities. They're kind of like the ones that have been institutions for a really, really long time. So like your Yale and your Harvard could be considered a red brick because they've been around for so long. They're institutions, etc. But then some kind of the newer institutions who are kind of more tapped into how the world works, and they haven't got those what's the best way of putting it? Kind of those traditions and things like that. They're slightly removed from them, and so they're more progressive. So you've got a nice balance between the two, and all it takes is you doing well in your exams, you get an offer, you accept it, and if you do well in your exams, you can you go there. But you get a choice of, you get to choose, put like 5 in like kind of like your thing. So you choose 5, and they give you offers before you sit your exams, and you've got to meet those offers. And then there you go.
Now, in England, I'm actually not familiar with this at all. I mean, the only thing I know about universities over there is pretty much like a buddy of mine went to Manchester, University or whatever, but and he was telling me a couple of things about that university. But I'm curious as to, is it expected for everyone to go to university, kind of like it is here in the States, or do you have a bigger population kind of finishing up high school, or that higher kind of what is it, junior high or whatever the hell it's called? Anyway, it's like that. Is it called high school in England? Like just
Yeah, so we've got high school, and then confusingly we call it college, which is the bit before university. So for you guys, it's like you call your higher education college, right? But you also call it university.
Right.
Well, so we also have like junior colleges, and from those you can acquire up to an associate's degree.
Okay.
Now your degrees are the same. You still have your associates, your bachelor's, master's, and whatnot.
doctorate.
Yeah. Okay,
all right. So as long as it's odd that we're all on that same level with the higher education.
Yeah.
Call it, but the breakdown, like the lower education, I feel like it gets a little different.
It's confusing. So like where I went to school, we call them secondary schools, but they're high schools. So, and my high school had something called a sixth form college kind of attached to it. So instead of so a lot of the time you can go to your high school and then go to a college for 2 years to get your A levels to go to university. So you can stay in your high school for, how many years is it? 5? Yeah, 5 years. And then you can go to a college, or some schools have a sixth form college where you stay in the same place for the extra 2 years to get your A levels to go to university. I was fortunate enough to go to a high school that had an adjoining sixth form college. So I stayed in the same high school for 7 years, which is, I guess, what you guys do. You stay in the same high school for 7 years?
Well, no. So it is different from state to state, like to a degree.
And it's different also what kind of school you're going to. If you go to a private school versus public school.
Yeah, that's a huge contender right there. If you go into a private school, you'll probably be there K through 12 is what we call it, kindergarten, first grade,
wow, okay,
12th grade. But public school generally goes kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth and fifth.
Elementary.
In elementary school. And then it levels up one step to middle school.
Which is like, by the way, the weirdest thing for me. It's like it's 3 grades of just randomness.
Well, they catch you in those like early developmental years where you're beginning to like approach your adolescence. And so like you'll start 6th, 7th, and 8th and
Some schools do nights.
some, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's that
Wow.
variant there.
Yeah.
And then traditionally you'll approach high school for 9 through 12, and just so that middle school step is miserable because everybody's going through their own fucking shit, and it's just this cesspool
The awkward years.
of puberty, and then you've got like older teachers that are just over this shit, and people are like pissy and sad, and fuck that, man.
Yeah, that's where kids get beat up for the first time. Oh man,
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough. So
I
sorry to kind of caveat there a little bit, but so in answer to your question, Dima, is there a kind of an onus for people to go to university? Yes. Not everyone has to. Like, it's not a requirement or anything like that. But I think since the increase in the fee for university, the want and the need for people to actually go to university has gone down considerably. But people still want to go because they still want that piece of paper that says, I have been to this place for 3-4 years, whatever. I've got this degree. I've worked hard for it. Give me a job.
right.
But a lot of jobs these days don't really require that. You don't really need a degree these days. I mean, the job that I'm in at the moment, I didn't need a degree for. I could have done it. I could have not gone to university. Like, you could argue I wasted 3 years of my life and a lot of money, but a lot of people see university as those formative years, is where you meet fantastic people, you experience things for the first time, you move away from home and stuff like that. So for university, people kind of remove the education side of things and they focus on the life experience side of it. And that for me was important. But it was also important because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life yet. So I was just like, I want to go to a place where I can learn things, get to a point where, okay, now I'm ready to figure out
hold that thought, Sean.
what I want to do in my life. And that's what in this country.
Mayday.
It's for. Oh no.
Wait, no.
I think we're back.
Yeah, you're good. You're back. Everything's good.
That was terrifying. You turned into a cyborg like for a minute, and wow.
Yeah, you're good now. You're loud and clear.
Welcome back.
Because you guys froze. I was just like, God, am I really that boring? Because you guys aren't moving.
Oh, dude, you're in your zone, man. We're really like listening, man. But could you repeat that last just piece that you were talking about? Because it was cutting in and out.
Okay, so university for a lot of people in this country is a lot of people do focus on the education side of things, but for a lot of people it's the life experience. It's for a lot of people it's that moving away from home for the first time. You get to experience new things, meet new people, try different skills, etc. And for me, I didn't focus on the education side of things as much as I should have done, but I met some amazing people. I did some amazing things, and it became those formative years that are really important, because at 18 years old, how are you supposed to fucking know what you want to do for the rest of your life? It's so difficult.
No, sir.
And like you've got like this pressure from society and to really make you want to think, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a businessman, whatever. But that's really difficult as an 18-year-old. So for university, it's kind of putting a pause on that. Fuck, what am I going to do with my life? Where you can go, you can go party, you can, try new sports, or meet the love of your life if that happens, kind of thing. So for university, it's a plethora of different things as to why people go. Education is definitely up there, but it's the fun things as well that people go to university for, essentially.
Now
in my opinion,
Yeah. I mean, there's several points there that we all touched on there. that I feel like I definitely want to comment on. The first one being the classic argument of whether you should go to college or not, right? This comes up a lot, especially when you're in college. It's a question that I found myself asking almost every semester, right? And so I feel like it's important to highlight that, like, to make it clear, you don't need to go to college for a lot of different things. Actually, statistically speaking, and I have looked at the stats, I don't know number wise, but I have looked at the stats, and people can fact check me on this. People actually end up using their minor more than their major a lot of the time.
Okay.
So yeah, that just like blows a lot of people's minds, because, you know, here I am spending a boatload of money and spending a lot of time in class working towards specializing in this one thing, and you're telling me that I'm not even going to be able to use that thing, and it's going to be the thing that I spent less time on that I actually get the job for, right? So that's something that's very important to mention. Also, kind of going along with the topic of college isn't necessary for some people, it gets into looking at very successful people without college, right? You always have your you know, what's that? Apple. Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs, right? You have
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Didn't Warren Buffett not go to college as well? So I don't know. I'm just making up shit now.
I mean, a lot of very successful people didn't need to go to college because they already had a good head on their shoulders, right? It's like they knew, and even if they didn't know, they knew that they were really excited about certain things.
The McDonald brothers didn't go to college.
Yeah, the McDonald brothers didn't go to. No, I'm not gonna do that. McDonald brothers didn't go to college, you know, and we're good, you know. So yeah, that's a very important thing to say. Now, going along with your point and just reiterating it, because you already put it so precisely and so rightly, a lot of people do need college. A lot of the time we hit 18, we hit 19, we're super young. We don't know what the fuck is going on with the world. We don't know who we are in relationship to the world. So we do need that 3 or that 2 or that 4-year period where we, fuck yeah, I want to party. Fuck yeah, I want to meet new people. Hell yeah, I want more structure in my life so I can actually figure out how to work with this pressure and with this structure and with these exam schedules and stuff like that. So college is necessary for a lot of people. So yeah, that's something that I really, really found important that we should reiterate. Second reiteration that I feel like, to me, and Nick, you can chime in as well, that we need to touch on is
I'm not chiming in. You got this.
You're on a roll. Oh, Nick, I want to hear your opinion too.
Well, yeah, Nick. I mean, go ahead, dude.
Oh man, fuck. What?
Go. I know. You got some steam to blow off with that.
All right. So, yes, I agree. It's a really good developmental opportunity for someone's personal life and, you know, knowing themselves. But I agree with there being other avenues of doing that as well. Like for me, I learned more about myself and my fellow man and women, I suppose, but there weren't a lot on submarines or any. But by joining the military, honestly, like that was like the biggest worldview I could have ever like just taken to the head. Just life, it's scary. It never stops. You know, it's a lot. And so like, you know, I would say to anybody like, you know, if you're not a conscious objector, jump into that. Like you could get a desk job and never have to hurt anybody in your life.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I would say as well, like when it comes to, you know, your life plan and what's presented in front of you, if you go to university and for the first year you don't click with it for whatever reason, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I've already, you know, spent that boatload of money, I need to see it out. If in your heart and your head you're thinking this isn't right for me, don't be afraid to take that jump and try something else, because university is always going to be there. You see stories of 75-year-olds who only got a high school diploma, who then go off to college to get that degree. There shouldn't be a time period in which to do anything. If it doesn't feel right at that moment in time, sometimes having the courage to actually step away from that is such a testament to someone's character. But yeah, and then you've got to try and figure out what you want to do next, and that's scary, because the world, as you said, Nick, the world is fucking terrifying. It's constantly moving, it's constantly changing, and trying to figure out where you fit in life
without missing the bus.
Terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But don't feel like, I mean, if you do miss the bus, fuck it. Sometimes there's 3 buses on the way or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, that's always another one.
Yeah, exactly. So I think people worry that people put a huge amount of pressure on themselves to, okay, I need to do this by 25. I need to be this. I need to have kids. But fuck the roadmap. Just do what feels right. And if it's not fitting right, then figure out why, and then start to figure out the next path.
Amen to that.
It's an errand to try to like script your life, and it obviously, or I would say it rarely goes according to plan in the first place, and it's kind of a practice in what is it called? Something that's not going to happen. Inevitability.
Or no, that's something that will happen eventually. So the opposite of inevitability.
Yeah. It's a practice in fruitility. No. There's a saying.
People understand what we're trying to say.
Living in the moment.
Well, that's the point. That's the take home, is to live in the moment, do what feels right, and you'll know your thing when you find it. If it really speaks to you, you'll know it.
And exactly. To kind of put the nail in a coffin on my end, this specific point is like, a lot of the time, it's actually like, for some people, healthier to not go to college, because I found myself in college, I got stuck in the trap. I got stuck under the roof. Like I got towards the end of college.
You got Nicki Minaj?
I got Nicki Minaj. I don't even know what's the reference.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Bees in the trap, boys.
Oh, bees in the trap. Yeah, I got stuck in the trap, and
bitches ain't shit and they ain't saying nothing.
Yeah, I mean, listen. What I'm trying to say is, towards the back end of my, my college experience, I found myself looking at the world and being even more scared of it than even in the beginning, because I was like, holy shit, I've just done so many classes, and I have a all right feeling about what I want to do, but it's like even more terrifying now than it was in the beginning. So a lot of the time, again, reiterating the point, you don't need college. Sometimes it's healthier for you to actually go out into the world without college and have to face that earlier than it is later, So it's like,
So that's the thing that I've learned in the business school here at UNCG, is that it's important to fail fast. That way you know what doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I believe that. If I'm going to fuck it up, let me fuck it up now, so I don't get down the road when I really need to count on this and it fail on me,
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think we've kind of beaten that horse in the head enough. Let's change gears up here. What's your taxation like?
To be honest, I don't know too much about taxes, in the sense that they come out of my paycheck once a month, and they do pretty good things. I mean, the majority of them, like, they're kind of split between, I mentioned at the beginning, kind of, we've got those different kind of tiered systems. You've kind of got the main government, and then you've got kind of mayorships, and then councils and stuff. So the majority of the taxation will go to councils to pay for things like refuse collection and just general maintenance of roads, etc. And then some of the proportion called national insurance will go towards funding the NHS. So our fantastic, well-beating health system that I hope sticks around forever and doesn't revert to your system, frankly speaking, because it would be awful. And then yeah, so it's kind of split between all these amazing things that we kind of forget about, and we do take for granted. So I don't see our taxation system as a massive issue. I think, you know, taxes are important. Yes, they're a pain in the ass when you see, oh, I'm getting paid X amount a month, and then, oh shit, I've just had most of that gone to taxes. But they are really important, especially in this country, because we are able to fund the NHS, and that's really, really important. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand on taxes. And that's kind of short, but I mean, we get sent the letter in the post once a year saying exactly where the breakdown of taxation is going to go, and that, you know, that's pretty useful. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, because it could be a bunch of bullshit, but
right. At least they're telling you something. With us, the taxes, they come out. You have like sales tax as well, and things of that.
Right. Like, yeah, no, we've got value added tax that gets, but the thing that I've noticed, it gets added onto the actual price. So when you see a ticket in a supermarket saying it's £1.50 for a bar of chocolate or whatever, you're paying that at the checkout.
Yeah, it's not that surprise.
And then when you're in the States or in Canada, you think, oh my God, it's 70 cents for this bar of chocolate. You take it to the till of the checkout, it's actually $1.30 or whatever. So you think, oh, fuck, it's not as cheap as I thought it was. But yeah,
and it makes it kind of, I'm sorry for cutting you off. What were you saying?
That's right.
Oh yeah, it makes it even more confusing when taxes vary per state. So it's like that chocolate may be $1 in one state, but $3 in another. You know what I mean? So,
and then
but the one thing that I've seen kind of as an observer of the US is the legalization of cannabis, and I know a lot of people in the UK. Nick's a big fan of that, everybody. I know a lot of people within the UK are kind of seeing these various states legalizing it, and the amount of good in various different aspects it can do. And the one major one is the taxation of that product, and then where that money goes within the system. So I would say if we were able to catch up with, you know, the states that have kind of I mean, you've seen, I saw Oregon a couple of weeks ago legalized pretty much fucking everything.
Yep.
Yep. So it's,
I don't know.
It's a case of it's kind of like a case of when now for us, because we've seen. I mean, you guys can probably go into a little bit deeper of the kind of like the taxation of cannabis and where it goes. But in my opinion, I see it being spent on the police, healthcare, you know, mental well-being and rehabilitation, schools, all that kind of stuff. So I'm assuming a lot of that money does go back into those kind of systems.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in my humble opinion, I think it should go ahead and just become a nationwide, like, legal practice to sell those things. And I think that, like, this is me being very utilitarian here, we could use those incoming tax dollars to relieve ourselves from our national debt. I don't know if you're familiar with the US's debt, but it is astronomical.
It's in the trillions, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially with this year, oh boy, that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Like that's stupid money.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, people are gonna do their vices regardless of law. So I don't see why we don't cash in on that.
Well, that's a very good point to mention. I mean, I like myself don't partake in any cannabis related activities, but I do. I actually look at it as a good thing. I mean, if you're using it for recreational purposes, or and it helps you, like it mentally helps you, which I find that in specifically today's society, a lot of people are overstressed, have an over anxiety, a lot of different mental health issues, and that this substance, cannabis, helps you mentally, then I'm all for it. Now, speaking of the gradual legalization of it, I think that it's I think that it's a good and bad thing. I think it's good because it gives people a natural understanding of where things are going as opposed to forcing it on people. So like, I know a lot of people that aren't for cannabis and don't want it to be legalized, but
Yeah.
like the slower the process is and the more time and time again these critics are proven wrong, the more they'll realize eventually that it is a good and healthy thing for some people, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bad thing because it takes such a long time. Like it takes such a fucking long time, especially in very conservative states where they don't really look at that thing as such a positive thing. So
yeah, and I would say as well, like once you start to legalize things, you're able to really control the manufacture of it, because when something's illegal, the manufacturers don't give a shit what they put into it. So they'll put, chemicals. And what you were saying, Dima, about it helping you mentally, when you've got an illegal manufacturer making it, that the stuff they put in there could like exacerbate your anxiety or your depression and things like that, which is what you see a lot in this country, because it's fantastically illegal, and it's all made kind of underground, and it's a lot of it is shit. I mean, I don't partake, but it's kind of what you hear. Yeah. And I think if you do legalize it, you're able to control the manufacturer, and then you're able to provide more jobs, and that's even more taxation money. And I see it as an inherently good thing because it makes so much sense.
With legalizing, you go through and you alleviate some of the stressors put on the incarceration system.
Well, that was another really big, a huge point that I forgot to mention is like, you have a vast quantity of people sitting in prison that do not need to be there.
Right.
Like, do not need to be there for selling in the big scope of things, a very small amount to a person that needed to smoke a little bit of weed. Like that, there's nothing, you shouldn't be sitting behind bars for some of these cases are like 10, 15 years. Like what?
That's a drag on our tax system.
Yeah. Like that just doesn't make any sense. Right?
So I personally believe that prisons should be utilized for incarcerating people of violent crimes and maybe like bad business practices,
espionage, etc.
Yeah. More dubious, devious, evil crimes. Not this dude sold this guy a bunch of plants. He's gonna go to his house and smoke and not hurt anybody and probably pass out on his couch after he eats like 2 pizzas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it takes. I mean, it looks like, specifically speaking about here in the States, it is slowly starting to become a legalized substance. Like you mentioned beforehand, Oregon, I still don't really know how to feel about this because this transcends just marijuana. It starts getting into other things that I don't necessarily agree with, but we'll see how it affects, everything. We'll see how it affects society, how it affects
So Oregon's kind of the test ground.
Yeah.
They're the beta.
That's it. Yeah. They that's brave. I think kind of going statewide for something that is really brave. And Oregon's not small by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the fact that they're seeing it as a health issue rather than a criminal issue is the fantastic starting point for not just America but the world over, because it should be seen as a health issue, because then you can, like as you mentioned, Nick, about the kind of using the taxations for the criminality side of it, putting people in jail. That's way more expensive than giving someone hospitalizing someone or whatever. Like it's so much cheaper, and then the counseling that comes with that, and it just makes so much more sense in that respect.
Well,
I want to lighten the mood up a little bit because we went pretty deep into this. So this is something that I find may or may not be a misconception. So please shed some light on the subject matter of London Underground. Is it a black market?
What as in the what the
what
as
is
in the
London Underground?
The London Underground is a network of subway systems to make it to Americanify it for you lovely gentlemen.
You're saying it's the subway.
It's the subway.
Literally the subway.
The London Underground is the subway. I tell you what, I've lived in London my entire life, apart from going to university. But you know, I've lived in London my entire life. The London Underground system, it has its flaws at times, but it's fucking awesome. It's so good. It's I mean, there are days when it's really shit and you're thinking, fuck, but it's ultimately brilliant.
For the longest time, I thought London Underground was some sort of black market where you could go and buy some fucking kidneys.
I mean, you probably in some dark corners of London Underground stations, I'm sure you probably could buy a kidney or something like that. If you know the right people and you know where to look, maybe.
Yeah.
Generally, it is just a network of subway systems. It gets you from every corner of London is pretty much connected near enough with a London Underground system.
Okay.
It's brilliant.
Thank you for clarifying. It is not as an evil of a thing as I may have assumed.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be. It's quite expensive, but it's still pretty good.
All right.
Well, kind of keeping with the theme of the, more light-hearted approach to, speaking, right? Like, I want to kind of, since you are in the, I don't know if I could even say like, kind of, would it be the music industry or would it be like,
ask him if it's okay if he says he's in the music industry.
So he says,
I am in the music industry.
So because of that, I kind of wanted, and I'm really heavy into a lot of UK kind of sounds and stuff like that. Let's talk UK grime. Let's talk UK music in general. What do you think of Skepta?
Man,
what
do you
think of?
I'm gonna need another beer. I very seldom leave the table during an interview, but
do you have another one of these?
I have 6 of these. Well, I had 6 of these until you decided to hop on my fucking gravy train. I bought you your beer.
All right, we'll have this discussion.
This
off
guy.
record.
This guy must be nice. Must be nice to just have your own personal slave.
I'm surprised you're not drinking the pink cider, Dean. Yeah. That was lovingly bought for you by me.
He put it on the ground. He disrespected me like that.
Listen. I appreciate your gesture, but I was not expecting you to get me some red tinted beverage for this podcast. I wanted something a little bit more low key, But